Walk into an Austin gas station right now and drop $4 on a plastic BuzzBallz, and you probably think you just bought a cheap cocktail. You didn't. There is zero actual liquor inside. You just paid a massive markup for bottom shelf wine and chemical syrup, perfectly engineered by a multi-billion-dollar company to bypass local laws and completely rip you off. Let's walk back into that gas station in Austin, Texas. You are standing in front of the open cooler, looking at a brightly colored plastic sphere that says Chalk Teas or Tequila Rita. It costs around $4.50. You assume, naturally, because of the name and the familiar packaging, that you are buying a pre-mixed cocktail containing actual tequila, vodka, or rum. That is exactly what the manufacturer is banking on you thinking. But if you take a second to turn that little plastic ball around and read the fine print, you are going to uncover a masterclass in a retail strategy called Skimpflation. This is the shadow price hike that is quietly, methodically draining your wallet every time you want a quick, convenient drink before a night out. There is a very deliberate, legally enforced difference between a BuzzBallz cocktail and a BuzzBallz Chiller. If you go to a dedicated, licensed liquor store in a state with strict alcohol laws, you might find the cocktail version. That specific version actually contains real, distilled spirits, sitting at 15% alcohol by volume. But that is absolutely not what you're buying at the corner bodega, the local 7-Eleven, or the gas station pump. Because places like Texas and New York strictly ban the sale of hard liquor in convenience stores, the parent company, Sazerac, a private corporate giant pulling in an estimated $3 billion in annual revenue, had to get incredibly creative to force their product onto those high-traffic shelves. Their solution was simple but brutal for the consumer. They completely stripped out the vodka, the rum, and the tequila. They replaced those expensive, highly regulated ingredients with the absolute cheapest alcohol bases legally available on the commercial market. We are talking about low-grade orange wine or cheap malt liquor. You need to understand that orange wine in this specific context has absolutely nothing to do with fancy vineyards, natural wines, or craft winemaking. It is an industrial, bottom-shelf, fermented liquid that tastes incredibly harsh on its own. To successfully cover up that cheap alcohol taste, they pump the plastic ball full of artificial peanut butter flavoring, synthetic lime extract, and massive amounts of heavy sugar syrup. You are not drinking a cocktail. You are drinking fermented malt garbage, deeply disguised by a chemical sugar bomb. This is skimpflation at its absolute finest. The corporation swapped out the premium ingredient for the cheapest substitute on earth, kept the exact same packaging, and actually charged you the exact same price, if not slightly more, for the privilege of drinking it. And that massive dose of sugar is exactly why you wake up with a splitting headache the next morning. Now let us break down the actual math at the cash register, because this is where the $4 illusion completely falls apart. One of these gas station chillers is exactly 200 milliliters. When you are heading out for the night, you rarely buy just one. You usually grab 4 of them to get a decent buzz. At $4.50 each, you are spending exactly $18 for 800 milliliters of liquid. Think about that number. $18. If you take that exact same $18 and walk into a real liquor store down the street, you can buy a standard 750 milliliter bottle, what we call a standard fifth, of decent, name-brand vodka or tequila, real, 100% distilled spirits. Instead, you are handing over that $18 for an equivalent volume of cheap orange wine and high-fructose corn syrup. You are paying a 400% markup for artificial flavorings and a plastic container shaped like a toy. You are paying a massive premium, a convenience tax, just to drink something that contains zero actual liquor. The rule here is incredibly simple. Never pay hard liquor prices for a product that does not contain a single drop of hard liquor. Keep that $18 in your wallet. Do not let a billion-dollar company trick you into buying their cheapest syrup at a premium price point. But if it is really that expensive and low quality mathematically, Why are students on college campuses from Miami to Los Angeles buying it up by the truckload every single weekend? The answer lies in the design of that plastic ball. The reason you walk out of a convenience store with 4 of these things is not just because of the sugar or the alcohol content. It is primarily because of the physical design. When you look at a BuzzBallz sitting on a shelf, your brain does not immediately register it as a potent alcoholic beverage. It registers it as a toy. It looks exactly like something you would pull out of a plastic vending machine at an arcade when you were a kid. That spherical shape, the peel-off lid, and the bright neon colors are all there to intentionally disarm your natural financial skepticism. You are holding a container filled with 15% alcohol, but it feels nostalgic, playful, and completely harmless. This is a deliberate psychological strategy designed to lower your guard before you even look at the price tag. Once your guard is down, the pricing trap snaps shut. Let us look at a real scenario with a college student down in Miami getting ready for a Friday night out. That student knows if they walk into a standard bar in South Beach, a single margarita is easily going to cost them $20, plus a nearly 10% sales tax and an automatic 18% gratuity. So, when they stop at a local corner store on the way to the club and see they can grab 4 of these little plastic balls for around $18, their brain immediately fires off a massive reward signal. It feels like a huge win. It feels like they just beat the system and outsmarted the famously expensive nightlife industry. This is a textbook retail manipulation tactic known as the fake bargain. You think you are saving money, but you are actually falling hard for decoy pricing. The convenience store is playing a game of volume and frequency. You are trading one large transparent bar tab for death by 1,000 small card swipes. Swiping your debit card for $4 repeatedly mentally registers as spending insignificant pocket change. It does not hurt the way a $100 bar tab hurts. But buying 4 of these every single Friday and Saturday night drains your bank account far faster than buying one proper bottle of real liquor and mixing your own drinks at home. You are paying a massive premium for the illusion of a cheap night out. Furthermore, the manufacturer knows exactly how you plan to use their product in the real world. That compact, round shape is not just for looking cute on a store display. It is highly engineered specifically for smuggling. They know perfectly well that young consumers are going to stuff 3 or 4 of these into a small purse, a backpack, or the deep pockets of cargo shorts to sneak them onto the beach, past security at a music festival, or into a stadium where a single domestic beer now routinely costs $15. The physical convenience is the ultimate bait. The product is designed to go exactly where glass bottles and aluminum cans are strictly prohibited. You think you are just buying a plastic ball because it is convenient, cheap, and fits perfectly in your bag. But the truth is, you do not actually have a free choice in this transaction. The massive corporations behind these products have completely rigged the convenience store checkout counter to make absolutely sure this is the only viable option you can buy. Let us talk about how you actually defend yourself and your bank account before you head out this weekend. The first step to breaking this trap is what I call label literacy, and it takes exactly 2 seconds while you're standing there looking at the cooler. When you pick up one of these heavy little plastic spheres, you have to force yourself to ignore the bright neon colors, the fun graphics, and the catchy names. You need to look directly at the bottom rim or the very fine print on the back label. You are scanning for one specific, highly regulated word. If the label says the word chiller, you need to put it back on the shelf immediately. That single word is the legal red flag confirming that you are about to pay top dollar for a mixture of malt liquor, industrial syrup, and cheap orange wine. If the label says cocktail, it means the product actually contains real distilled spirits like tequila or vodka. But here's the catch. You are almost never going to find the cocktail version at a standard gas station or a corner bodega in states with strict liquor laws. They flood those convenience store shelves exclusively with the chiller versions. That one-word difference on the label is the entire foundation of the scam. Once you know how to read the label, you have to apply a very simple rule of retail math. This is the exact calculation the manufacturer prays you are too rushed or too distracted to do while you are waiting in line at the register. You need to think about the price per ounce of actual alcohol. A standard gas station BuzzBallz is roughly 6.8 ounces of total liquid volume, sitting at 15% alcohol. When you blindly tap your card to pay $4.50 for that small amount of liquid, you are essentially paying a massive luxury tax just for the novelty plastic container and the artificial flavoring. Let us do the real math. A standard 750 milliliter bottle of 80 proof liquor contains about 300 milliliters of pure alcohol. To get that exact same amount of pure alcohol from these 15% chillers, you would need to buy exactly 10 of them. 10 of those plastic balls at $4.50 a piece means you are spending $45. Here is the actual formula you need to deploy the next time you are the one making the run for pre-game drinks. Walk right past the convenience store and go to a real grocery store or a dedicated liquor store. Take exactly $15 out of your wallet. For that $15, you can easily buy a standard bottle of a completely respectable mid-tier vodka, Blanco Tequila, or white rum. We are talking about actual 100% distilled liquor. It has zero added sugar, zero chemical aftertaste, and zero mystery ingredients. Next, take another $4 and buy a large bottle of high-quality orange juice, cranberry juice, or a decent cocktail mixer. You have just spent $19 total. That $19 investment yields the exact same amount of actual alcohol as $45 worth of gas station balls. That is a solid $26 difference for a single night out. If you do this just a couple of times a weekend, that is easily a couple $100 a month, or over $2,000 a year, completely vaporized from your bank account. You are literally burning thousands of dollars a year, just so a massive corporation can hand you cheap wine in a piece of plastic shaped like a toy. By spending 5 extra minutes to mix the drinks yourself, you control the ingredients, you completely avoid the massive sugar hangover the next day, and you keep that money in your pocket where it belongs. You stop paying the invisible convenience tax that these brands rely on to survive. You take back your financial leverage simply by reading the fine print and doing the math they assume you will never do. The only reason you have to apply these exhausting defense protocols is because a powerful force behind the scenes deliberately bent the law to shove these plastic balls in your face. Let us look at the bigger picture and ask a very simple question. If you live in a state like New York or Texas, you already know the law. Gas stations and convenience stores are strictly forbidden from selling hard liquor. You cannot buy a bottle of real tequila or vodka at a local bodega in Brooklyn or a convenience store in Austin. It is completely illegal. Yet, right there next to the iced tea and the energy drinks, you have an entire cooler packed with plastic balls branded as Tequila Rita and chalk teas. This is not an accident, and it is certainly not a store manager making a rogue inventory mistake. This is a highly engineered legal maneuver. The company that recently acquired BuzzBallz is Sazerac, the second largest spirits company in the United States. When Sazerac looked at this brand, they did not care about the heartwarming startup story of a high school teacher mixing drinks by her pool. They cared about one thing and one thing only: shelf space. Specifically, the most valuable real estate in the entire retail world, which is the open cooler right next to the convenience store checkout counter. To dominate that space in states with strict liquor laws, they execute a deliberate word loophole. They strip out the highly regulated distilled spirits. They replace them with a malt beverage or a cheap orange wine base. This single ingredient swap legally reclassifies the product. Under the law, it is no longer hard liquor. It is technically classified closer to beer or wine, which means it can instantly bypass the ban and be sold legally at almost any gas station pump in the country. If this aggressive distribution strategy sounds familiar, it is because Sazerac has run this exact same corporate playbook before. You might remember the massive class action lawsuit filed in early 2023 involving those 99-cent tiny bottles of Fireball sold at gas station counters everywhere. Millions of people bought those little bottles thinking they were buying real Fireball cinnamon whiskey to start their weekend. But if you looked closely at the gas station version, the word whiskey was entirely missing from the label. It was just called Fireball Cinnamon. It was the exact same trick. Sazerac filled those tiny plastic bottles with a cheap malt beverage and whiskey flavoring, completely bypassing the state liquor laws. They relied on visual branding and customer assumptions to charge a premium for artificial syrup. They faced lawsuits over misleading packaging, but the sheer volume of cash they pulled in from dominating gas station counters across America far outweighed any legal headaches. Now they are applying that exact same heavily weaponized business model to BuzzBallz. They take a recognized brand name, remove the expensive core ingredient, substitute it with the absolute cheapest legal alternative, and rely entirely on brand confusion to maintain their profit margins. They know perfectly well that when you are rushing to a party on a Friday night, you are not standing in line at the gas station reading the microscopic fine print to check if your tequila Rita actually contains real tequila. You are just looking at the familiar shape, the bright colors, and handing over your debit card. This is the fundamental reality of the convenience store market that you have to internalize to protect your money. If you are in a state that bans hard liquor sales in gas stations, you must understand that anything resembling liquor on those shelves is a carefully constructed legal fiction. You are never buying the real thing. You are buying a highly profitable illusion designed by corporate lawyers to drain your wallet without you ever realizing it. You are paying for the marketing, the plastic mold, and a loophole. Once you understand this repeating corporate pattern, you stop being an easy target. You stop blindly funding a greed machine that sells you cheap chemical flavoring disguised as a premium drink. Sazerac knows exactly what they are doing, and they are calculating every single penny in your pocket. That little plastic BuzzBallz sphere is the perfect, terrifying symbol of the modern consumer retail market. It represents exactly how massive beverage corporations operate today. They design a flashy, nostalgic, brightly colored shell. They aggressively hollow out the actual quality of the ingredients inside, and then they aim the entire marketing machine directly at the demographic with the tightest budgets. College students, young professionals, and anyone just looking for a quick, affordable way to unwind on a weekend are the primary targets of this exact financial extraction model. It is the ultimate manifestation of skimpflation. They take away the real tequila, the real vodka, and the real value, leaving you holding a plastic container full of cheap industrial filler. Yet they still have the audacity to charge you a premium price. When you wake up the next morning after downing 4 of these gas station chillers, you are absolutely going to feel a massive, pounding headache. But I want you to realize that the headache is not just coming from the toxic mixture of cheap malt liquor, bottom-tier orange wine, and heavy artificial syrup. That hangover should also come from the brutal realization that you just threw your hard-earned cash straight out the window. You did not buy a convenient, budget-friendly cocktail. You personally financed a corporate distribution loophole. You handed over a massive markup to a billion-dollar conglomerate just so they could maintain a monopoly over a convenience store cooler in Austin or Brooklyn. You have to stop falling for the visual bait and start looking at the cold, hard math behind what you are actually paying for. The entire retail system relies on you being in a rush, tapping your debit card without reading the fine print, and blindly accepting that a plastic toy is somehow worth premium liquor prices. You work too hard for your money to let it get siphoned away by a fake bargain. The next time you are standing at the checkout counter at your local 7-Eleven and you see one of those colorful plastic balls sitting right next to the register, remember the exact math we just did. Do not pay an exorbitant price for a cheap illusion. Hit the subscribe button so I can keep exposing these hidden consumer traps that are quietly draining your wallet every single day. Stay smart and save your money.